Hi, you are welcome. Come on in. I am your host, owner, and founder of Following the Signs, a nonprofit organization. For those who are not aware, our focus is on changing our community by strengthening its people. I am broadcasting in studio live from the beautiful Blot Podcast Network. This magnificent organization, Blot, is building business leaders of tomorrow today, nonstop. One word for it, excellent. Excellent. All right. That's my Belle Xavier. She lets me know when announcements are to be done here. So let's catch up with our announcements right now. First, I'd like to shout out to our members. Thank you. Thank you for all the hard work and leadership. I am amazed, and seeing our efforts paying off is priceless. First of all, let's start. We are planning to start another herbal garden. This is largely due to all the success we have witnessed with our first. So moving right along, it's really getting better. So we're seeing great results, and we're going to continue to meditate on that, and we're going to continue to hope and watch it grow. All right. We are gradually growing in members as well. Moreover, with each member, we are gaining more knowledge energy, and this is giving us more herbal meaning. So what a great, exciting time to be in Cleveland. Right on. Our workshops are expanding in size and in also becoming increasingly more fun, educational, and exciting. We are looking for more ways of expanding the reach of people as the prices rise. We need to reach more people. We need to reach more citizens in our community and give them this valuable information that Following the Signs is gathering and is ready to explode and is exploding. So let's go on. We have also been receiving more material items, monetary donations. Please don't stop. Everything that you can do for us, we appreciate it, and it will be put to the right area. We will be using it correctly, so that you don't have to fear. We're going to take care of that. So today our topic is how fear impacts our community and what impact that plays on us. I think it's very important because no matter where you go, no matter where you are in the United States and even abroad, you're going to run into this constant thing. It's called fear. It's fear. And we've all experienced it in every level, right? So what is fear? So we break it down is fear is feeling mentally and physically vulnerable. All right? That's where we finally get to the point where we say, I can't win, and then comes over the anxieties that go along with fear. I am afraid, then comes that fear. So it's one of the most powerful emotions that exist in mankind, and that's a fact. So what fear does is it alerts us to the presence of danger or even the threat of harm. Now, that's normal. We know that. The part about fear that I'd like to touch on today is the fear of imagination. Imagining something that has something to do with anxieties that you have from not accepting our community as it is and hoping and looking at other things, looking at it another way. And that's kind of dangerous. So when you deal with imagined fear, you deal with imagined danger. This type of fear comes from meditation of thought. And that's very dangerous. It's okay to meditate in spirit, but when we meditate in thought, it's very destructive to our minds, body, and our soul if not checked. I have seen people with great positions in the society that we live in, and they'll freak out over Y2K, or and that's really hasn't been really documented where it's a fact, but yet they're afraid of that. So we have to ask ourselves, what makes people go in that direction? How can we stop them from going in that direction? It's very, very important. So I'd like to talk about two kinds of fear today. One is obedient fear. The other is disobedient fear. So dealing in both of these two types of fears. So Mr. Lucky, explain to us what type of fear are you talking about? Well, these fears are in our community because we in our community live with both of them. And it's not a simultaneous thing. It's either one or the other. So we'll deal with the first one first. Let's deal with obedient fear. So obedient fear would break down to when every decision that you make is correct. Pretty much you get your kids to school at the right time. They have on the right clothes. Your husband is the right man for you as far as what life is concerned. You eat the right foods. You put the right amount of gas. Everything that you do is right. You would ask yourself, so where does fear come in if that's the case? If everything you're doing is right, what reason would you have to be fear? Well, we talked about once the imagination fear. Now we're going to talk about the fear of realizing unwanted change is around the corner. Now, when we realize that unwanted change is around the corner, this is an anxiety that takes place on us. This is a fear that falls down on our heads, and we need to look up for that. And I mean look up, because as long as we keep our head down, it's not going to help. So we're dealing with the kind of fear that will bring on anxieties. So what type of anxieties can occur from obedient fear? Well, it's real simple. You'll have high blood pressure. You'll go into massive depressions. Because see, once we're dealing with uncertainty, then we're dealing with the phobia of falling and can't get up. We go out on a realistic universal path, and all we would want at that point is to find our way back to our normal life. By that's the way that would go. So what are some of the other types of anxieties that would happen with obedient fear? Massive depression, I just spoke on, nervousness, delusion, and one of the other ones is psychological problems. Just what we just talked about, the Y2K. So all of these come about when we are obedient, we are doing everything right, and we just can't seem to feel comfortable with it because of our fear that there's something that's around the corner that no one's telling us about, and it's troubling. So that on top of meditating that, constantly meditating that thought brings on the anxieties and brings on the physical effects that happens to us when we go along that line, something that we need to be careful with. So let's talk about the other fear, which is disobedient fear. So in our community, there's a lot of that going on. We can see more of that than we can the former. We can see how disobedient fear plays a part in our daily lives, either through by television or through by streaming or even the video games that we play. We see disobedient fear being rewarded in some way, but yet when we deal with emotions and we deal with disobedient fear with emotions, let's talk about how that can affect us. That fear will literally make you suffer all the time. You will suffer in pain all the time. Now, this is a type of pain, unlike the other pains that comes along with physical pains. These more are psychological pains. When you're dealing with disobedience fears, you live in an emotional roller coaster. You live in a seesaw. It's always going to go up and it's always going to go down. It's a constant emotion. And this emotion will never let you escape. It'll never let you escape isolation. It would never let you escape paranoid anxieties. And that's a fear. And that's a symptom. And that's a pain. And when we see people that live in disobedient fear or disobedient reality, we have to look at them because we need to pay close attention to them because they need something that they can't find inside of them because they've chosen to live the disobedient style of life. And that means that they never get their kids to school on time. They never buy tires for the car. They never give money to charity. There's just things that they never consider doing because they don't want to live in that style. They want to live in a disobedient style. So dealing with both is where our society is right now. Now, what do we do about it? Well, what happens with that also is the fact that following the signs is on a mission to grow and distribute healthy herbs, right? Herbs are the natural medication for these anxieties, right? It's the natural medication that curbs these emotions and sets this whole trend back where it came from. The emotional blanket that covers you, whether you're in a position of authority or whether you are in a position of just a normal job, is a fear. And it's something like a person would look at Mike Tyson and have to fight him, and his car is running and his girlfriend is saying, come on. Now, anybody in their right mind wouldn't want to go into a fight with Mike Tyson on those terms. But these are the fears that we wake up with every day in our community. That means walking out the door is like walking into a ring with Mike Tyson, knowing that he wants to really fight. But yet we all live in fear, and we've been conditioned in that fear. Whether we're obedient or disobedient, we live inside that fear, and that is an emotion that affects our community because it affects us personally. It puts its hands on our shoulders, and then we have to deal with that. So at this point, we have to realize that what we eat, it feeds every emotion in our spirit. Not only our spirit, our minds, and our bodies. And this is the spirit that we transcend to other people and to our children. So as we eat herbs at a table around our children, we're going to get that urge to open up a little more and not be so defensive, because that's one of the things that gets in the way of our existence with other people too. So Follow the Signs is teaching our community that herbs are nothing to be afraid of, especially at the dinner table. It should be talked about widely, and it should be accepted widely. And that growing these herbs is another defense against the erosion of our mental health, because that's the cure. And let me give you for instance. The other day I was downtown and I watched a hobo downtown, and I watched him walk through downtown and go in garbage cans. So every garbage can he ate, every garbage can he approached and put his hands in, he pulled something out and he ate it. He just ate it. He didn't think twice about it. He didn't wipe it off. He just took it from there and put it in his mouth. Matter of fact, he had it in his mouth when he turned around and looked at me. Then turned around and put it back in his mouth and kept chewing it, because that's how he felt about it. And so it dawned on me then that we're here with all of these herbs. And why are they here? Because no matter what we eat, it doesn't matter. The herbs are the medication that keeps us from getting an acute reaction from what we eat. I am convinced, as I am sitting here, that we have the ability to eat anything we want to eat, no matter how bad it is, as long as behind that we find the proper herbs to eat behind it, because that's the medication that cures everything that goes in our body, because that is the medication that our body requires. So with that being said, I know that our mental health depends on our ability to eat certain herbs. As a matter of fact, I tell you the truth, when it comes to fear, there is a new movie out about a group of women that are warriors, and they are depicted as sword wielding, spear throwing, hard talking, loving, and it just gives us the illustration of how herbs gives us an ability to be unafraid. It comes from what we eat. The ability for us to deal with anxieties, especially a woman in a position of that much authority as a warrior, princess. It depends on how she eats. She could not possibly make it any other way. No matter what she puts in her mouth, she has to have something to curb that fear that's there and what she lives with every day. So let's move on. So when we blend gratitude with meditation and education, it unlocks the door to gardening of herbs, helping to give back to earth its seed, along with the meditation of the expectation of future growth. These alone are the stepping stones to prosperity as far as our health is concerned and moving our health in the proper direction. So, the result of fearful energy from obedient or disobedient fear is monument to our preservation at this point. So I'd like to just say a few things now about how we are able to defeat this. How can we treat this? What would it take a person who is at the edge of their realistic universe to have a permanent problem if they don't get back to our normal way of life? How can herbs help that happen for them? Well, there's many ways. One, if you give me a moment, is the ability to, just a second. Oh, here we are. Okay. So wait, hold on. Xavier, this is Xavier the Bell. She's trying to tell me something. Hold on. All right, so what are you trying to tell me? Oh, it's telling me this, that, this is a heavy topic, and I'd like to be able to reach my audience with more information on this topic. So I am inviting any individual to have a discussion with me via telephone or in person on any topic pertaining to herbs and natural healing. I send out a flyer now. Xavier's ringing the bell. Come on and give me a call, 216-924-8834. Let's get together. Let's sit down here and let's talk. And let's find out some of the things that we need to tell our people, and then let's get that message out. So you ask, what can a person eat to help them with the fear? With fear every day. We talked about the warriors and the princesses and what they ate and how that energized them, calmed that emotional fear, and gave them the ability to have courage, which is the opposite of fear. So moving in that direction is not a direction that's going to make us more vulnerable, but it's going to make us more easily to accept the things around us and not take it into an avenue of fear and uncertainty. And I think that's very important. So what I'm prescribing is there's a health factor here. I'm not sure if your doctors have you on any type of medication, but I would talk to them first. There's a long list of herbs that go along with the discussion that we're talking about today, and they all are very helpful. So just let me get to something that I know is interesting, that I need to let you know. Okay. All right. So in our brains, I have to tell you this because this is something that we need to know, and how herbs affect us, our minds and our bodies, basically our brains. And it also says that from where we are is that once we eat clean herbs, we're talking about the wonderful emotional experience that comes from obedient fear. We combine that with herbs and clean water. And what this does, on the other hand, we talked about those princess warriors, is it gives us a burst of energy. It gives us a burst of strength that we use our fear at this point, right? We use our obedient and our disobedient fear. And with the proper herbs, it will counteract it, and it would put us to the other side. And it's just a steady diet that could be wonderful, and it can be emotional. It can give you an emotional experience. And that's very important. So a combination from obedient fear, a combination of herbs and clean water is outstanding in giving us what we need to find the other side, which is courage. So let's talk about what else this does. That energy, in one hand, takes us away from our obedient and disobedient fears on a negative side, and it puts us our obedient and disobedient fears on a positive side. We will receive a burst of energy. We will receive a direct connection to our brains from fear to courage. We also will be affecting our immune system so that our physical and psychological bodies won't be affected by the destruction of fear. That once we put herbs and clean water together in our bodies on a regular basis, which is what we recommend, it sends courage to our decision-making process. That says a lot because no other way it can happen with just eating meat. There's nothing wrong with what you eat. I'm not a judge, but I want to add that putting the proper herbs in our system will help generate a more positive outcome in our daily lives. And I think that's where we lack. That's where we lack. We're looking for the size and not the substance. We want to bulk up our bodies, but not bulk up our immune systems. And this is the way you do it. Clean water and fresh herbs every day. You just pour that water on those herbs, clean them, and get them nice and fresh, and there they are, ready to be eaten. So this is going to send a positive message. It's going to send your body on a positive direction, and it goes directly to the brain. Now, that's brain food. If you ever hear people talk about fish, and they say, well, it's brain food, definitely carrots are. Definitely broccoli is. There's so many natural herbs that we call weeds, for lack of better words, that stimulate us and take us to where we need to be physically, emotionally. Okay? Herbs are also a step up on communication, especially dealing with our social interactions, which doesn't lead down the road to rejection anxiety. So what did I just say? Well, I just said that the eating of the herbs will curve your ability to be antisociable, and it will curve it in the direction of you communicating more with the people that's around you and the people who want to communicate with you. So eating those natural herbs will help with your social interactions. You'd be surprised. Once you get bogged down with certain foods that's not helpful, then you'll find that you will be at a disadvantage when it comes to social interactions with people. Because actually at that point, you really don't want to really be there because the brain doesn't have the energy it takes that it would need to carry on a decent conversation or to be in a environment that's conducive to what it is you need to relax and to feel comfortable after a hard day's work. It just won't be there. Where that natural energy is a difference when you sort of, let's say you eat a lot of sugar or you eat a lot of herbs. Well, you're going to get energy from both. But there's a natural energy that comes along with the herbs, an unnatural energy that comes along with something other than herbs. So, you have a choice at that point. You can go natural or you can go unnatural. But definitely, these two will lead you down the road of people wanting to be around you, not rejection. A lot of people can sense negative energy from people, and that's from the rejection that they feel from you, and you're not spouting out energy from what you eat. It is very important that we do. So to put it bluntly, obedient fear with the help of herbs and clean water would change your fears and give you an energy boost to turn your fears quickly into courage. So what did I just say? I just gave you the recipe on having those feelings of a person who may be hostile towards you, how to get over that. How to get over that feeling of not wanting to be a part of a situation and being rejectful to it. I just showed you how to get over that. There's all of the probable emotions that can happen to you. Fear is the most dangerous because it can easily set you on the outside and you may end up doing something to hurt someone or worse, hurt yourself. So these herbs and many others are the weapons that we use to discover why we're here. That's very important. People always ask that question, what is life all about? Well, I've found that, and I teach this at Following the Signs, that once we eat the proper food, once we eat the proper herbs, these questions are answered in our minds. And then we interact and then we act out what we have discovered. And now we have a community of balance and a community of communication. So, and all the other things that go along with it. So it's very important that we start at step one, which is to be able to take our hands and put it on something that's going to do good for us when we put it in our mouths. So that's what we do. Our herbal gardens at Following the Signs are doing outstanding. They are growing very fast, very well, very thick, very healthy. And we're seeing that when we do it that way, when we meditate it and we speak to it and we show it love and we give it attention and affection, we water it on time and we put it in the sunlight properly, we understand that there's a give back to that. Those herbs give back to us. You know, we'll say, give us some oxygen and I'll give you some carbon. And that's a deal that's been set in stone when man first arrived here. That was already on the books. So once we acknowledge that fact and realize that we meditate for expectations in the future of potential growth, we see that there's an outstanding opportunity for us right now before the situation gets to a different type of situation that maybe we're out of control. We have the ability now to take control, and that control we take is by what we eat. And that fear can easily be turned into courage, and that courage can be turned into everlasting happiness. Be aware that the answers are here. At Following the Signs, this is what we do every day. So also let me say that what plays the biggest part in replacing our fear, our country is tired. Our country is tired. And that's playing a great part on our fear. Usually when you feel vulnerable, you usually feel that you can't protect yourself. That means you're tired. That means you're weak. And our country right now is in a tired state. There's so many things going on. It's so many, we're talking about elections. We're talking about job insecurities. We're talking about shelves being half. People are tired. People are tired. And that tiredness alone is only going to bring one thing, fear. So now we're afraid of being tired. Here we go again. Now we're stepping on into the imaginary danger, right? Now we're dealing with the uncertainty of that danger that's right here at our doorstep, and we need to really just do something about it. So we're going to go buy some guns, I'd like to see all of that change. I'd like to see Following the Signs step into the framework of doing what it needs to do to make all of these changes possible. I invite anyone to give me a call and have a discussion with me. Like I said, we could talk about anything as long as it's pertaining to natural growth. So in closing, I'd like to say something very important. We have to remember that our success or failure in our community and in our lives hinges on winning and losing. We tend to believe that our community will make us better people and happier, but we are learning that that is not the role of the community. We make ourselves better, and our community benefits from us. We can't fall into the trap that winning is all that matters. And for the sake of our families and our communities, it isn't true. Winning only gives us a sign that on one particular day, on one particular circumstance and condition, we did exceptionally well. But don't think that winning is an all-the-time occurrence. But what we can do is always prepare ourselves to win. And in that preparation, you have a chance. So I'm Mr. Lucky, your host from Following the Signs. I really did enjoy myself today, and I'm looking forward to talking to you in a couple weeks again, and we'll have another rounded discussion about things that are happening in our community and how we can take hold of it and make the necessary changes to make it better before it gets any worse. So again, I'm Mr. Lucky, and I thank you. This is Following the Signs, and I will see you next week.